I genuinely talked to like a big artist about how to do that.
That's why I like it.
Really a story? I don't know. I've never
And there's 5 radio stations.
Welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. My name is Reverend Jennifer Innis. It is my great joy to be the minister with this congregation of fellow travelers of all the shapes, sizes, and seasons of life. In this congregation of people who are fully flawed and fabulous as all humans are, we strive to put love at the center of our efforts and aspirations. We are an intentional community gathered around our shared promise to support each other's spiritual journeys. And so let us gather together in worship that we may be present with all gender identities, sexual orientations, abilities, racial and ethnic identities, and politics. And may we root ourselves in the values of this faith: compassion and courage, transcendence, justice, transformation, and service. As part of our network of mutuality, we honor our relations, past and present. This is the ancestral home of the Peoria people, They and other nations were here long before the first Europeans arrived. We honor the Peoria people for who they were and for who they are today. And now, if you are a new or a recent guest, I want to thank you for joining us in person or online. It is such a wonderful effort and a gift that we might extend ourselves into a place, a people, and that we might be more known and a little less lonely in the world. Please help us get to know you. Feel free to ask any questions. Any questions? Is that true? Any questions? We got all the questions? Okay, good. I invite you to remain after service. If you're joining us in person, please join us in Fellowship Hall or in the Zoom room if you are joining us online. And as we prepare to be present for this hour, please put your devices in worship mode, either vibrate or silent, whatever works best for you. And if you find you need any of our hearing assist devices, please ask an usher at any time during the service. Now, I have a couple of notes. One, that next Sunday is Easter Sunday, and we're doing Easter, yes. And we're also having a special guest musician. We have Edith Barnard's wonderful spouse, Wes Siddell, who's coming to join us for that. And if that wasn't enough, there will be an egg hunt after service. So, you got to come and help. And so I think there's going to be eggs spread everywhere, and it's a great reason to take a walk in the woods. I bet you they're going to be in the woods. It's a great reason to come take a walk in the woods as well. And now I want to invite Amanda Franklin for a special message about our annual campaign.
Okay, do you guys want to get the sign? You go get the sign over there. Okay. Hi, good morning. Okay. This morning, today, marks the official opening of our pledge campaign for the upcoming church year. And we are going to celebrate this morning after service with a potluck. There we go. Jump a little farther over so everybody can see it. Okay, so if you planned for the potluck and you signed up so we could know what people were bringing, thank you. If you brought something but you forgot to sign up, that's okay too. And if you are thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we were doing a potluck, or I did know but I completely forgot, totally okay. There is more than enough food and there's plenty of space for everyone at our tables. So I wanted to keep this brief, but I wanted to tell you about all of the exciting things that we are going to be doing this year in the pledge campaign. 4 exciting things. 1, when we get to $100,000 in pledges, everybody's going to get cookies. Super awesome. At $200,000, we're all going to get ice cream. At $300,000, I have procured some homemade pies from some people in our church. They'll be fresh, of course, but we'll all have pies at $300,000. And then when we reach our goal of $350,000, there's going to be some hair dyeing going on. And I have confirmed that Reverend Jennifer loves purple, and her hair takes very well. So we're going to get to the goal this year. If you're sitting there thinking, what the heck is pledging? I invite you to come to the luncheon today where we're going to talk all about it. It's going to be super fun. Join us this year as we set the table and grow the joy. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Amanda. And thank you, all the helpers. That was very good helping. And I want to add a note. Our annual campaign is the way that we make secure the promise of pledges for the fundraising so that we can make all of our next year's efforts and ministries happen. So I really want to invite folks to pay attention, be part of the process and the conversation. It is such an important piece to simply be in the conversation about what we are dreaming and what we are hoping to do. And now, as part of how we welcome each other, I want to share a moment of greeting our neighbors during the service. I invite you to say hello in the sanctuary or online. And please, as we are a community of consent, please ask before offering a hug or a handshake. And I will bring us back with the beginning of the hymn. And so I invite you to greet your neighbor. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Will you please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. If you love the music, turn to number 361 in the hymnal or go with the slides. We will listen through and then sing all the way through the verses. Please be seated. I invite Helen Martin forward for our opening words.
This wholeness is our practice of resistance. By Reverend Gretchen Haley. Although there remains too much evidence of the world breaking apart at coastlines, congressional hearings, and kitchen tables, inside the quiet places of your heart and mine, there resides still the seeds, the longing to return to this knowing that we belong to each other, this earth, this life, to remember ourselves and all of our lost pieces, beloved in ways that cannot be undone, to dwell here in this healing, this hope, this wholeness is our practice of resistance. Even in rage, we refuse to relinquish gratitude or joy. Come, let us worship together.
I invite the Franklin family forward to help light our chalice.
The fire of love burning deep in every human heart calls us to awaken. Awaken to the work of justice. Awaken to the work of compassion. Awaken to the work of community. For in this time of human suffering and exaltation, for in that we are called beyond awakening into action. We may the chalice flame we now light guide our hearts in service to a greater good that holds all living things in its holy grace. Embrace.
Can you paint with all down sweet berries on the earth, who roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers, the heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a loop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or let the eagle tell you where he's been? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? With all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know, and you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skin, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain, with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still on your own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
In the living of, in the living of our mission, embracing freedom, loving inclusively, growing in all ways, and adding to the wholeness and the healing of the world, it shows up in the many gifts we share, in volunteering, in using our particular skills, in simply being with one another, and of course, our financial gifts as well. So we take up a collection every week during the service as a way to honor that act of giving and amplify it. The offering of the funds in this moment is one of the ways to be intentional, tangible, and present in the life and work we share and that which we keep sustaining. And we also send a portion of our gifts out into the world. We practice sharing the plate. A half of the undesignated offering that we receive in the course of the month will go to our named recipient, and half goes to the church. So for April, we are now in the first Sunday of April, we have a new recipient, and that is the Central Illinois Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. They have been providing support and encouragement to the blind and visually impaired since 1955. And they teach Braille, set up households, provide assistive technology, and offer various services and social events and outings as well. And this is one of those, part of what the Social Impact Committee was looking at when choosing the recipients was also to recognize groups that don't receive government funding. This is a nonprofit, and so the donations are really from the community, from making the support possible. So as we go into sharing the plate, half will go to, of the undesignated plate, half goes to the church, half goes for the Central Illinois Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired this month. And if you are using the envelopes, please indicate if that's a pledge, if it's giving a little extra to go to share the plate, or if you'd like to go to the recipient entirely, you're welcome to indicate that on the envelope. And now the ushers will come forward with the plates during our music for meditation. After the plates have passed, then we will have a chance to light our candles of care and concern. And so now, will the ushers please come forward? From our separate joys and struggles, we come here to find a place of balance, to find the blessing of restlessness. All are welcome. To follow, to lead, to teach, to learn. All are welcome. To join the dance, to catch our breath. All are welcome. To give generously, to receive gratefully. All are welcome. If we are steady and composed, if we feel entirely lost, if we don't know what we're feeling, the community has a place for us here. We matter and we are loved. This is the time for the sharing of the joys and sorrows of the congregation. And we start with a wish for health. We send wishes for a complete and speedy recovery to Sandy Meskimen, who is recovering at home from injuries sustained in falls. And now we offer our sympathy. We offer our sympathy to Holly Cook as she mourns the loss of her beloved cat, Panda, who passed on February 24th at age 14. Extend our sympathy to Holly for the loss of her beloved Panda. In our larger world, we recognize that this week marks the end of the week of Transgender Week of Visibility. The official day for this was March 31st. Due to the storms that came through, we canceled for that Friday evening. We'll be rescheduling that. Transgender Day or Week of Visibility is an opportunity for our siblings who are trans, who are gender expansive, to be more known, to be more public, to simply say, I exist. And it is a call for all of us to honor and recognize our siblings in all the ways that we show up in this world. We extend our care and concern to the community of Nashville, Tennessee, for the deadly school shooting on Monday, 3 students, 3 adults, plus the shooter. And in our larger world as well, we find that we are at the convergence of a range of holy days and holidays. In Christianity, this is Palm Sunday, when Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey in defiance of the dominant empire. In Judaism, we enter into Passover, when the Hebrews prepared to flee their enslavement in Egypt. And we are already in the month of Ramadan in the Islamic tradition, a practice of fasting and dedication to God. Given all that is before us and around us, all the names, the milestones, the markers, the moments sacred and mundane, let us hold one more moment of shared quiet together to bring forth all that is with us and within us, knowing that we do so in the embrace of this community. Let us invite and help each other to be present to this moment, this very moment. I invite you to take a moment and breathe with me in quiet. Shalom, salam, and amen. And now I invite Jesse Laughlin to offer the story for us today.
Today, I offer a traditional story that some may know and some may have forgotten. Stone soup. Once upon a time, a wise woman decided to go on a journey. So she packed a small bag, said goodbye to her family, and set off. When it was evening, she came to a village and thought, "Here looks good. I'll stay for the night." Near the center of town, she met a group of people and introduced herself. "I'm a simple traveler on a journey of discovery, and I'm just looking for a safe place to eat and maybe a warm meal." "Well, you're welcome here," the villagers told her. "I'm sure we can find you somewhere to sleep. Our village is full of kind-hearted folks. But we have very little food to share, for no one has an abundance. Last year's harvest was poor, and we're not sure what the future holds." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," said the woman. "Well, in that case, you needn't worry about me. I have all I need. In fact, in that case, let me share with you. I will make dinner for the whole village." "What will you make?" asked the villagers. "Well, I will make stone soup." "Stone soup? What is that?" And more villagers began to crowd around. "Oh, stone soup is wonderful," said the woman. "It's the best soup I've ever tasted. Now, if one of you could just bring me a pot and some water, I'll get started." And so the villagers rushed back, and someone came with a pot, and someone brought some wood, and someone else brought water. And so the fire got going, and the woman took out of her small bag, opened it up, and reached inside. And out she pulled her magic stone. She carefully dropped that stone into the pot of boiling water. The old woman began to slowly stir the pot, smell the aromas that were coming off of it, and rubbing her tummy in anticipation. "I do like tasty stone soup," she said. "But of course, stone soup with cabbage would be much better. Does anybody have any cabbage? I think that would be very good today." "There's some cabbage right there. Come on up." "Can you add your cabbage to my pot?" A villager came forward and added some cabbage she had been saving in the back of her pantry. "Wonderful," said the old woman. "This reminds me now of the time that I had stone soup with cabbage and beans. Oh, that was delicious. Beans really added something. Does anybody have any beans to add to my soup?" "There's some beans. Perfect." And somebody came forward with a package of beans that they had left. Now, can you imagine what this soup would taste like? If we had a bit of onion, perhaps? Any onion to add to my soup? And maybe some potatoes? Or carrot? I think this is going to be the best stone soup I've ever made. And the pot began to fill with sweet potatoes and celery and zucchini. And all the villagers found they had a little something that they could add to the pot. As the soup simmered slowly over the fire, the wonderful smells wafted over the villagers. They started to relax. They started to remember what it was like to gather together. Do you think we need some egg in our soup? So as the villagers gathered and told stories, sang songs, shared jokes, and finally, the soup was done, and the old woman ladled it into bowls, and there was plenty for everyone. Afterward, they all declared that this was indeed the best soup of any kind that they had ever tasted. And several folks in the village, after the meal, tried to buy the magic rock from the old woman. They thought they could make a pretty good profit from soup this delicious. But alas, the old woman refused to sell it. Instead, the next morning, she woke up early, packed up her belongings, and headed out of the village. As she passed by a group of children playing on the side of the road, she handed the youngest one her pouch containing the stone and whispered, "It was not the stone that performed the magic. It was us together." I wonder what kind of magic we'll perform together. All right, well, I invite all my young chefs to join me in the kitchen for religious education, and we will make our own version of stone soup today to share at the potluck.
Around you, everywhere, everywhere you may go. The reading is an excerpt from a longer message by my colleague, the Reverend Fred Wooden, as he reflects on 40 plus years of ministry. And indeed, the title of this piece is Things to Do in Church When You're Dead. Yes. Yep, things to do in church when you're dead. So let me add, for those who are just getting to know Unitarian Universalism, we come from a Christian Protestant tradition, though we are our own faith at this point, drawing from many sources. Reverend Fred brings out the core instruction in his piece about three 19th century teachers, William Ellery Channing, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Theodore Parker. These three are known as the prophets of liberalism for their time. They reminded and still remind us about the nature of a liberal approach to theology, this freedom that comes, as well as what stirs the spirit and what moves us to contribute into the world. And he says, we exist as we have always existed across centuries and theologies and politics and policies to liberate minds from ignorance and error, especially our own. This was the signal insight Channing gave us. He called it rational Christianity, but it was more than reason applied to Scripture. This is why 17 years later, Ralph Waldo Emerson scolded his fellow Unitarian clergy as corpse cold. You can imagine how that went over. You are frigid. Yes. Rational religion that did not animate lives was no religion at all. He exposed something missing, not something wrong. His famous advice, Emerson's advice to clergy, that they deal out to the people their lives, life passed through the fire of thought, meant that the religious task went well beyond discerning facts to living truths. This lifelong task, which is why a century later, A. Powell Davies said, life is just a chance to grow a soul. Less than a decade after Emerson, Theodore Parker's boldness with both theology and abolition earned him scorn for his insistence that one cannot know a truth, feel it inwardly, and not live it in the wider world. Can we say we truly believe in justice if we ignore injustice? Can we truly be soulful if our hearts are not torn by the suffering of the souls around us? Our famous three prophets of liberalism are just that, but we have failed to see them as complements, as revealers of the three essential elements of a liberal religion: to free the mind, grow the soul, to change the world. That is what we are for. To free the mind, grow the soul, and change the world. That is what we are for. Please rise in body or spirit for our hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. If you wish, you're welcome to turn to the music in the gray hymnal. We will listen through once and sing through the verses. Come sing a song. To begin, I'd like to invite you to help get things started. I need to come up with a list. What are the top 5 reasons we come to church? I'm sure there's more. We could come up with a top 10, no problem, but let's go with 5 for now. What are the top 5 reasons to come to church? This isn't Family Feud, but that would be fun too. This is Among Us. If you would, give me one. What's one, the top 5 reason to go? Ooh, I love all the hands. Whoa. I'm missing the sound here. Hold on, one at a time. Community. Yes, Rachel. Get to know like-minded people in the local area. Yes, Georgia. Inspiration. Sarah? Spirituality. I'm just going to go. I'm not even counting. Yes. Choir. Music. Phyllis. Fellowship. Love. Yes, we're beyond 5. Yes, go ahead. Food. Ooh, you can. Anybody smelling these onions that are just going through the whole church? Like, woohoo. Coffee. Da, 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 da. Thank you. Oh, yes, one more. Education. Ooh, can't forget that one. Thank you. These are all these reasons and so many more about why we come, why we get ourselves moving on a Sunday morning when, gosh, coffee in bed sounds just great too, right? I know. I got to tell you, when we had that whole year of the recorded services, I had never known a Sunday morning without church for so long, or without having to go physically to show up and do this. I can see the appeal. But you know what? We also recognize how much we need. We need such a moment as this. How much we do. I have to say, it's been such a pleasure in the last few weeks, in particular, to see the increments of church happening in so many ways, in the offers of help, in the invitations to lunch, in the simple act of visiting and listening, and so much more. The microcosm of any faith community is how we care for each other. And to witness that care is one of the great gifts of being part of a congregation. It's one of the gifts that sustains me no matter where and when I have been around a congregation, a faith community, and so on. I know, as we just named some of that, is at the heart of being around a body such as this. For you too. And from those microcosms, we have the daily flow of church congregation life, faith community life that shows up on whenever our faith community has their Sabbath. It could be Sunday, it could be Friday, it could be Saturday. That we gather and share in the abundance of our lives. It could be food, simply fellowship, gather in sacred space, and then go out into the world and add to its healing. We are gathering in and creating and recreating a human institution. I know, some of us are like, how am I in an institution? I don't know. But this is one of seekers, one that desires to offer comfort, where we raise the next generation, where we receive the visitors who can become members and add to the legacy. In this moment, all of this inspires our annual campaign theme for this year, Set the Table, Grow the Joy. That captures that continuous cycle of welcoming and sharing and sending out into the world again and again. This year has been a chance to discover and rediscover the meaning of religious community. This congregation in particular, of course, after being pulled in so many directions and enduring the circumstances of pandemic and social shift and social conflict and a world literally heating up. Our work includes trying to make sense of the ripples and their impact on us as a faith and as a congregation. And in this brave new world of technology, we are even more scattered than before. The measure of connection and participation has in its own way been upended. The community is more than the number of people in the room. I mean, it always has been, truly, but that is even more prevalent than ever. It is more how we navigate the parish, if you will, the umbrella of the congregation. Now, being in the sanctuary full of people, oh, it's so good to see you all. Every week, I am still so grateful that we have people, because it makes my heart sing. I know it does for so many of you. And the community experience is also entirely asynchronous. That's the word from the pandemic. We are out of phase with each other in so many ways, and yet still say, I am part of the church. So our ability to be liberating, animated, and agitating is so much more needed than ever. This free mind, the open heart, the willingness to create a more compassionate and just world is more urgent than ever before. No wonder that it can be such a challenge. It's not simply opening up the closet and saying, hey, the church is all here with all the people. It's not that simple. I know that I've been feeling a bit stuck. I know it's easy to want to find solutions, tangible, practical, add to our toolkit, if you will. To look to what I'm calling the if-only solutions. If only we have enough members. If only we have enough money. If only we offer the right classes, the right message. If only we do more politics, or if only we do less politics. If only we're more spiritual, or if only we're less spiritual, and who knows, and so on. It is so easy to react from a place of fear and anxiety and of simply not knowing what to do. That can look like offering a multitude of activities, but not connect with depth or motivation or a horizon. But then as individuals, we also want to connect and address our own big questions. We each have them at every age. And we're susceptible to if only solutions as well, if only we read the right books, if only we joined the right group, and so on. It can be so easy to be busy and lost all at once. And at the same time, we're kind of fending off the social messages of fixing, the advertising that enables us that says, ooh, you should consume more and you will feel better, yet doesn't actually fill the need. We are living while our world sorrows and while people harm each other every day. It can be so turned around. It can be hard to know ourselves, never mind our neighbor. So in this moment, I needed to take a little pause and a little movement back to try to say, what is the bigger picture, the bigger question? And my colleague Fred Wooden offered that by saying, what are we for? What is the purpose of the church? The question behind the question of what brings you to church, right? The why. And his response, to free the mind, to grow the soul, to change the world. And we do this. I remember, we do this. We have been doing this for a long time to offer the compassionate, inclusive big tent. I mean, the methods change over time, but we recognize that this congregation itself, now 180 years old, holy cow, 180. It's not what it once was in 1843 or 1943 or 2003, but it still is offering that message, that mission all the time, to free the mind, to open the soul, to change the world. Or as my colleague distills that down to, liberate, animate, agitate. Amen. I was thinking about this free the mind. I want to offer a moment on this. Last week during coffee hour with the minister, someone described coming to the Unitarian Universalist Church as liberal religion with a history lesson. Yes, there is a certain truth to that. I will own that with a measure of both pride and humility because, I love to tell the history stories, right? But it's part of how we help ourselves free the mind, even from ourselves. A few weeks ago, I spoke of the Iowa Sisterhood, the Unitarian and the Universalist women who were ministers in the great Midwest in the late 1800s and into the early 1900s, and did so in those ministries in the frontiers, traveling circuits and hundreds of miles, when few men were volunteering. They had amazing ministries. They made church relevant to people's lives. They included children. They advocated for the equal treatment of women and men. And that ministry was then blocked by men who squashed the idea of women in ministry for the next 50 years, well into the 20th century. Free the mind indeed, especially from our own arrogance and limits, and much more. We are here to be mind-expanding, heart-revealing, to make a real difference, to do the work that is real, as Marge Piercy tells us, as to have justice be the manifestation of love, as Cornel West reminds us, to get into good trouble, as the late John Lewis instructed us. Something like with the Trans Day of Visibility, our siblings remind us that true allyship places us close enough to feel the heat and the impact. When have you been that close? How shall we be that close? And the purpose, and let me expand that the purpose of this is not just confined or guarded by one tradition or one person. It is within any possibility of faith or community, Christian, Buddhist, Jewish, Islam, indigenous traditions, pagan traditions, humanism, ethical culture, and more. And this spirit, this liberating approach, shows up in the temple, in the church, in the ashram, in a bar, in a pool hall, by the poolside, in the library, in the dance hall, in the soup kitchen, and more. The location is anywhere. So what then is the role of this congregation, this institution, accountable to other institutions, if we are? We gather in this container, this big tent that shelters and lets the renewing air flow through. The stone soup, it shows up, assembled by gift upon gift, making a greater result than its separate parts. We are the home base for the cycle of people entering, finding solace and comfort, pausing and refreshing themselves, caring for others, and then bringing what has been learned and known out into the world, making that love manifest as justice. The community, the body shifts all the time based on culture and fashion and pressure and anxieties and strategic planning. But always it is a place of training, nurturing, growing, and wondering, asking questions such as, What would a more economically equitable Peoria look like? How might this community better serve the larger Peoria community, better serve the lesbian, gay, bisexual, questioning plus population, knowing that every neighbor state has bills in motion that would restrict health care and outlaw the very existence of our trans and gender expansive siblings? I looked at the map. It's not pretty. How do we make love, our love and our argument and our resistance, bigger? And the answers are not just for this congregation, but we are part of the work. In a place such as this, we are fed by music and stories and worship, by good company, by care extended in illness and sorrow and loneliness. We teach the children, we learn from each other, we play and we laugh and we mourn. We witness the hell we humans create on earth. And it is our charge to love the hell out of the world. 3 years ago, I stepped into this sanctuary for the first time. I knew this was a place for greatness, not only because it is beautiful and it is alive with legacy and, well, it's big. It's big. But because this was an outward sign of purpose and imagination. Whatever the number of people, filling the space is up to us. Filling all the spaces in person, online, on Sunday, and any and every day of the week. So we charge each other with the great purpose again and again and again, and live into this challenge and this reason for being, to free the mind, expand the heart, serve the world. And so as we go forth, I ask you and me and all of us, how shall we meet this charge of the liberal religion in this age? So let us begin to liberate, animate, and agitate. We go forth. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 407. We're going to sit at the welcome table. Watch me for the rest, because there's a rest and you can clap. It's okay. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice and take its light and warmth with us. Through our temporary lives, great currents of history run. Let us keep the channels open and free so not to obstruct purposes greater than our own. Let us keep our minds high and set above our goals that here bind us into one sharing fellowship of loving hearts. Let us go forth and offer our service into the world. Amen.